They're all about bike rides in East Anglia, and a lot of these I've done with my wife Clare, and all these have been published in the citizen journalism outlet East Anglia Bylines. And if anyone here wants to write for them, see me afterwards. Anyway, on to the first one. Who here knows Harmonium by the American composer John Adams?
Sort of.
1, 2. Right, okay. Well, you have that treat still to come. You won't get it tonight, I'm afraid, but Harmonium by John Adams, listen out for it. Who here knows the bike path called the Thames?
Oh, I live in Cherry Hinton.
Yeah, exactly. That's where this goes.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know it, this bike path, it's from Burnside, beyond the east end of Mill Road, to Cherry Hinton. Anyway, this poem was written when I was working through Joe Bell's splendid book, 52, Write a Poem a Week. Start now, keep going. And that's something you could look out as well. And prompt number 4 in that magnificent book calls on you to write a poem that's an invitation. And this is mine, Invitation to the Thames Path, Cambridge. If you know John Adams' Harmonium and ride a push bike, let's recall the drum roll throbbing in the quiet that will grow, riding a stretch from death to the full throw of movement 3, wild nights. Let's do the bike version along this path. Small flat bridge like the drums, and power in the riding rise for that crescendo of sonorities. The bridge won't rumble now as once, I fear, under one bike. So, let us all draw near, a pedal-strengthened Adams multitude, in mind of that orchestral interlude. And the next one's about another road, Chester Road. That's the one that enters Cambridge from the southeast at Hills Road and leaves from the northwest as Huntington Road. And it has a Latin name that the Romans didn't call it this, but antiquarians a few centuries ago gave it this name, Via Divana, Chester Road, whereas they probably said it Via Divina. There'll be people here who know more about this than I do, but anyway, that's about as much as I do know. And so this poem's called Chester Road. Via Divina, Chester Road. The name spurious, 18th century invention. Rhymed, I suppose, retainer, not Tirana. I rode northwest that turmoiling weekend, and 90s time of names and letters reversed, seeing how nothing could be for the best. We ride southeast over the clunky stones, a bouncing practice for our next bike tour, and spend an afternoon admiring beasts. Perhaps someday we'll take the invitation in the road's name, bogus but true enough, and ride northwest to Chester the whole way. And this one's called a 3-year cycle. When I was a kid, I used to imagine that my life was running in 3-year cycles. I discerned similarities between years by their points on the cycle. This is, it plays on that. It uses the Malay verse form, the pantoum. It was written for a competition that Birkbeck College in London was running. Anyway, a 3-year cycle. But things move on if it's a cycle. Grey as old photos. January, bruises, with piled up consequences happened already. See the sky rhymed with the street. Grey as old photos. January, bruises. Where does the 3-year cycle start? See the sky rhymed with the street. Turn red-blue as daring. Where does the 3-year cycle start? Where put the defining moments turn red-blue as dairy? They cycled from Cambridge to Reach. Where put the defining moments? They cycled from Cambridge to Over. They cycled from Cambridge to Reach. Green gold as July. Oh, be joyful in the Lord, all ye lands. They cycled from Cambridge to Over. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Green gold as July. Oh, be joyful in the Lord, all ye lands. They ran into Psalm 102. Bruised, forgetting to eat bread. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Piled up consequences happened already. They ran into Psalm 102. Bruised, forgetting to eat bread. But things move on if it's a cycle. And my final clue, for 38 years I worked in a library of archaeology and anthropology. A thing I found there in a book of off-prints was an account of a joint day out in 1868 by the Norfolk and Norwich Archaeological Society and the Suffolk Institute of Archaeology and Natural History. They explored churches on the Norfolk and Suffolk border. Clare and I did, we took our bikes along there one day in good heavens. We took our bikes along there one day in September 2014. Yeah, anyway. This is something I wrote a few months before that, when we'd already got this in mind. We aim to follow, not to recreate, that learned tour in 1868 on horse-drawn omnibuses from the station Haddiscoe had then, not today's location. We cannot make the antiquarian jaunts mid-September, mid-Victorian quality of light. That we don't know. Cooler planet, steam trains at Haddiscoe, at Alton, night, earlier then, unlit, made the last visit rush and shortened it. Postscript 1868 ends possession with a century buried uncompletion. My final thing, shades of 1860s light, which I wrote after we'd done the journey, gives you some idea of how it was for us. We biked after the 1868ers, tweeting their churches till the juice was low. September, both day trips, theirs not so late as ours, and their station nearer Haddiscoe. There, Reverend John Gunn, at Flixton Ruin, should have written a paper but had not. His ad lib burns the page. What not to do in that case? Shot down. I hope he soon forgot. Had we found Flixton by day's end, the maps, church rems of this track, these beehives, this clump, glimpsed stonework under leaves, it was perhaps church-shaped enough to be the ruin's stump. Overgrown hulk, church shadow, where what should have been done and was not, as almost could. Thank you.